They freaking finally did it. We've been asking and begging, and personally, this is a bigger announcement than the other ones. Yes, pretty much every automaker except for VW and Stellantis has announced NACS support, but Lucid is an all-electric startup company, of course, and I've been saying on the record now for a while that they needed NACS more than anybody, because all these other automakers had different revenue streams from their gas vehicle business, and Lucid was a lot more stripped for cash than Rivian was, and definitely struggling to find demand, struggling to find customers than I thought. That probably one of the primary reasons Lucid was struggling to find buyers was not because the product itself was all that bad. It mostly came down to the inferior charging infrastructure, and I kept saying that adoption of NACS and even promising that existing customers are going to get some kind of access to the supercharger network would increase demand, would increase people's faith in the company and more faith in the product, that okay, you're not just relying on Electrify America for everything, right? So as of today, the official announcement has been made, and the timeline, like a lot of these more recent NACS announcements, is not all that clear. It's not as specific as it was for Ford and GM. So Lucid said that starting in 2025, like everybody else, they're going to have the NACS port on their vehicles themselves. But unlike Ford and GM and Rivian, Lucid is actually saying that their current CCS owners, like everybody who's already taken delivery of a Lucid, is not going to be able to access the supercharger network via an adapter also until 2025, which is a bit interesting. Most other automakers said that that would be available just in a couple months. Early 2024 is when Ford, GM, and Rivian customers are supposed to get their Magic Dock adapter. That way they can basically drive to any V3 supercharger, put on the adapter, and charge their car. Lucid's got to wait an extra year for that, which is kind of interesting to me. It makes me wonder if Lucid is basically banking on the V4 supercharger network having some kind of higher voltage optimization, because obviously the biggest thing preventing Lucid from being able to switch to NACS in the past was that they are a higher voltage vehicle. They were not optimized for the lower voltage DC charging network that is Tesla's, which meant that even if you took a Lucid Air to a CCS compatible supercharger, you were not really getting much more than 50 kilowatts. It was not all that fast, and my guess is Lucid is not just going to slap a NACS port on their cars and expect to get 50 kilowatts everywhere. My prediction is that Lucid has decided on one of two possibilities. For one, they're switching to the NACS port in 2025, and then those new Lucids with that NACS port will be able to split their battery pack voltage in half, like GM does with the Hummer EV. It's a higher voltage, but it can still fast charge on lower voltage stations. Or there's also the possibility that Lucid knows something we don't when it comes to Tesla's supercharger network, and that Tesla is going to be updating lots of V3 and V4 superchargers to support higher voltage speeds. We know that the Cybertruck is confirmed to run on a higher voltage architecture, so it would definitely make a lot of sense for Tesla to be updating the superchargers across the country to be more optimized for 800 volt vehicles like the Hyundai, Kia brands, and now of course Lucid jumping on that train as well. But honestly, I would be very, very surprised if Lucid just decided that, yeah, you know what, we're gonna support NACS and we're gonna let people charge on the supercharger network via an adapter, but your peak speed is 50 kilowatts on vehicles with, 118 kilowatt hour battery pack. I don't know. Lucid has made some odd decisions in the past, so maybe I shouldn't rule out that possibility, but perhaps the reason Lucid has to wait an extra year before accessing the superchargers is because Tesla has made some kind of agreement with them that says, hey, by 2025, we're gonna have X number of supercharging stations optimized for higher voltage charging, which should allow for Lucid Airs, yes, both CCS and NACS versions, to charge at higher speeds thanks to the new V4 design. But of course, as of right now, we're pretty confident that all the V4 superchargers in the world still have V3 on the back end, which means they can't go much higher than 250 kilowatts. Personally though, I don't think they need to go all that much faster. I think as long as they're able to hit that 250 kilowatt mark and keep at it deep into the battery pack, then a lot of people will still rather have a slower supercharging station over a unreliable Electrify America charging session, right? I wish they would give us more details on this, and also this is not how I would have unveiled it if I were Lucid. They're kind of hyping up the unveiling of the official Lucid Gravity, their SUV, which I think there's a lot of hype and anticipation for because not that many people are sold on the sedans. So personally, I would have announced NACS support on the Gravity and said that, Gravity is going to have NACS from day one. They didn't technically confirm that today. They just said in 2025 they'll switch to NACS, but according to Lucid, production of the Gravity doesn't start until end of next year. I hope they don't make Gravities with the CCS port. That would just be so weird. Don't do that. Don't botch the release release Lucid and put on a dated port that you're gonna scrap in just a couple of months anyway. But because the Gravity is a brand new vehicle for them and it's not in production currently, it should be fairly simple for them to make sure that the battery pack on that car can be split in half and support the lower charging speed. So it can go to a V3 or a V4 and still get great charging current just like a Cybertruck would. But now the real question comes down to, will this announcement actually increase desirability of Lucid's vehicles? I know that was definitely a deal breaker for a ton of Lucid customers out there. They were like, I love the range, I love the efficiency of this car, and they even love the infotainment, you know, the CarPlay support and the bird's eye view and the screen layout and everything. You know, it's personal preference, it's not really my cup of tea, but I know people that liked it, but they just said, I cannot rely on Electrify America. That's absolutely ruining my road trip experience. It's way too unreliable, and if this car could supercharge, it'd be a different story. So does the desirability of today's Lucid Airs go up with the concept that maybe you'll get a much better supercharger network in 2025? I don't know, that might be too long of a wait for many people. You know, is Lucid gonna run out of cash before then? I guess it's up to the Saudis. If they keep pouring money into them, I don't know why they are, but they keep doing it. But as long as the money keeps on pouring in, then I guess Lucid will probably still exist by 2025, and if they actually have good charging curves and great range and great efficiency, I could see the demand for these vehicles being much higher than what it is today. But the other painful lesson that a lot of EV customers are learning is that your maximum range number doesn't necessarily guarantee anything, because if your charging network is not that great or your charging curve is not that great, it doesn't necessarily result in faster road trip time. And especially with the federal government incentivizing everybody to buy sedans and SUVs under $80,000 or $55,000, that makes Lucid's more luxury segment a lot harder to justify. I'd be kind of surprised if the Lucid Gravity is actually able to start under $80K. Probably going to be a lot more complicated of a vehicle. It would be smart for them, in my opinion, to focus more on having a great charging curve and a smaller battery pack, because that usually allows you to price the vehicle lower. The battery is the most expensive component. But if they could get the Gravity qualifying for the federal tax credit, I think that would increase the desirability for a lot of people. There certainly appears to be a crap ton of demand for full-size 7-seater SUVs that are electric. Rivian has a crap ton of pent-up demand for the R1S. A lot of people excited for the Kia EV9. Lots of Tesla people are asking for a cyber SUV, and I don't think Tesla's gonna give it to us. So it'd be smart of Lucid, in my opinion, to go after the markets that Tesla is not currently in. And for sure, there's definitely way more people in the market for a big SUV than there is a very, very expensive, very luxurious sedan. So the price is gonna make or break this product, but knowing that NACS is now on the board for them definitely makes me feel like there's a bit more hope for their future than there was just a day ago. Took them way too long to announce this, and I hope that they came to some kind of agreement with Tesla. Maybe at the Cybertruck delivery event, Tesla will talk about how they're updating the superchargers to support the higher voltage speeds, which non-Teslas will be able to utilize, like the Lucid Air and the Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis brands. What do you guys think? Is this gonna save Lucid? Do you think they'll get an uptick in sales? Or do you think this is too little too late? Feel free to let me know down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.